Do you guys like my Matt Mercer shirt? See, it was intentional because I'm talking about TTRPGs today. It's a little Easter egg for you guys. Oh my gosh, hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the inside of my closet. This might come as a surprise to some of you, but I was actually a weird kid in elementary school. And I still am. I've been a weird kid my entire life. The only difference now is I'm a weird adult, and that's kind of worse. I've talked about many of my weird kid interests online. If you follow my TikTok, you've probably seen some of those videos before. I don't think I've ever covered Warrior Cats though, which is so crazy because Warrior Cats was such a big part of my childhood. I loved those books. So this is very exciting for me to get to share with you this information that I have acquired. For anyone not familiar with the Warrior Cats books, there's like a million of them. And they follow several groups of like feral cats living out in this forest, and they've all aligned themselves into clans, and the clans always face like various environmental troubles or like interpersonal conflicts, and that's where the plot of the books come in. I'm not discussing the Warriors plot today so much as some side content that was put out. If I were to talk about the books and the fandom and the fan shenanigans that have happened in the Warrior Cats fandom, I could have made like a whole separate video and probably talked for hours, but that's for another time. Today I am here to talk about the Warrior Cats adventure game. So the WAG is a series of like pre-written adventures featured in the back of the Warriors books, not the new printed ones, but like in the olden days when that's what we were getting. These adventures were marketed as like a tabletop roleplay version of the Warrior Cats stories that you could play with your friends. What I'm trying to say is the Warrior Cats adventure game was just like an officially licensed Warrior D&D. So some of you might already know that I'm a big fan of D&D and by extension TTRPGs or tabletop role-playing games. I've been looking to dip my toes into DMing, and I wanted to find a crazy concept to run as my very first one-shot. My repressed knowledge of seeing these games in the back of the Warrior Cats books has come to the forefront of my mind in these trying times. For this video, I wanted to take a look at the old adventure game and see what it was like and see if it's something that can be reworked into a new game that can be brought to my table. I want to start off by saying I love how the guide suggests doing a kind of session 0 for character creation, and by that I mean the guide encourages players to get together and talk about their expectations for the game and what they want to get out of it. You can talk about whether or not you all want to be from the same clan or different clans and what kind of feelings your characters might have towards rival clans. I am a believer in the session 0. I think any good role-playing game should start out with a session 0 just to talk about expectations and set boundaries. I love that the guide has that included. I think that's really nice. I want to say that if I were to rework this game, I'd probably have all my players start in the same clan. I'm sure there is a way you can do it where they're all in separate clans, and it might make for like better rivalries, but the clan cats to me are very like separated. And that's something I wouldn't want. I wouldn't want all my players to be in like different areas and do different things. I would want them to have more aligned goals because I think that makes for a better role-playing experience. I'm sure in the olden days of the Warrior Cats adventure game, the two people that played it found ways to have their characters be from different clans. That's what's really sticking out to me right now. My own personal little warrior cat has come to say hi, but she won't get on camera because she's so shy. Come here. Oh, I got her. Say hi. Meow. I love my baby. Are you a feisty little warrior? Are you a big strong warrior? Are you gonna go catch a vole? She's gonna go fight Shadow Clan. She has to go kill Tiger Star. So that's what she's doing right now. I'm gonna put up a picture of the character sheet that the adventure game uses. I'm gonna also link it along with the guidebook in the description in case you want to read along with me, but I'm gonna explain to you the very basics of the game so you know what you're getting into. If you were to create a cat with this character sheet, you would start off with the abilities at the top. That's the strength, intelligence, and spirit. You would get 5 points to spend between the 3 of them, and you can spend those however you want. Those are going to be used to determine ability checks, which I will get into later. For skills, it's kind of the same. You get level 1 training in 3 different skills, and then depending on the clan you pick, you also get bonus training in certain skills. Those are used for skill checks, which are similar to ability checks, but I will also cover those in the rules section of this video. Knacks are the bottom part of this character sheet. It's that blank box down there. You don't really do knacks checks. They're more like bonuses that you can spend points on to get. But for starters, you would pick 3 knacks from the list that I'm putting up right now. And those are basically just like skill proficiencies, or not proficiencies, but like things your cat can do. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. It's things your cat is capable of doing. So once you're done with that, you've basically completed the most simple RPG character sheet I think has ever existed. That's not meant to be a diss either. This game is for children. It's for children who have never played TTRPGs before. If you hear that jingling, that's my cat. She's caught a toy. I actually think that basic character sheets like this are great for people who have never played any sort of TTRPG before. I think that it's a great way to get beginners into it. So I enjoy the setup of this character sheet, even if I make fun of it. Girls be changing their clothes. I changed my clothes. So the first thing I noticed while reading the guide is the game isn't played with dice. Instead, you use chips for ability checks and skill checks and knacks, and I think you also use chips for health. And at first glance that might seem a little odd, but again we have to take into account that this game was meant for children who probably don't have access to a d20 or anything like that. So I'll let it slide. The system works fine for what it is. Let's get into ability checks. If you're a nerd like me, you might be asking yourself how they handle ability checks if dice isn't being used to determine the element of chance, and the answer to that is there really is no chance with these. If you wanted to make an ability check, you would use the ability level on your character sheet, determined by the points that you spent at the beginning of the game, and you can spend chips on top of that to meet whatever level the DM says you need to meet for the ability check. You would do the same thing for a skill check using the level. So that's how they handle ability and skill checks. Knacks, like I said, are like bonuses in the game. You spend chips to use them if you have them selected during character creation or during leveling up. So that's how those work. I'm not exactly sure what you would use knacks for because I've never played the game before. I don't know. I'm not sure. You can also lose chips during fights. If your cat has no chips left, that means they're knocked out. I don't think they die in the game, even though cats die all the time in the books. I think it works more like Pokemon rules, where you can just heal after you get knocked out. I don't want to get too deep into leveling up and improving your character, but I will point out that they provided a nice guide to aging, which is basically leveling up. As your cat ages, they gain new skills and they get closer to becoming a full-fledged warrior. I think you start out as an apprentice, but if you wanted to start out as a warrior, I don't think there's anything stopping you from that. The list provides multiple different options. I love the ability to choose whether you want to do like a merit-based thing where as you progress in your adventure, your cat levels up, or if you wanted to do it according to real time, you could do it like that. I think it's nice. One last thing I want to talk about from the guide is the narrator role. Because the game makers can't refer to the storyteller of the game as the dungeon master or the DM, they came up with the narrator title. None of the Warrior Cats books are exactly big enough to include a full DM's guide, so we're gonna settle for a couple of pages at the end of the guidebook here. I noticed while reading over the narrator rule that it's supposed to be swapped between players so everyone gets a chance to play a cat. A lot of the guidebook for the narrator is just reinforcing that the role should be fairly passed around so everyone gets a chance to play as a cat, and at the same time telling the reader that the narrator role is actually really fun and they should give it a chance. I think it's funny that they had the foresight to realize that the youths probably just want to roleplay cats and they probably don't care about telling a good story or being a good DM. They just want to roleplay. So I appreciate that. I think it's funny. So the very last part of the guidebook includes a pre-written adventure that you can use in your gameplay. It's called Saving the Kits. Throughout the book, they allude to more pre-written stories being out there, but this is the only one I could find. I'm not gonna get into the story of Saving the Kits. I wanted to say that I appreciate the availability of pre-written options. I know not every kid probably wants to come up with their own Warrior Cat story. They probably just want to have one that they can read from and go crazy with it. I know the point of the game is to be beginner friendly. It's only natural that they have so many pre-written adventures out there. I just thought I'd point it out. I think the already existing rulebook and the pre-written Saving the Kits adventure are already super cool. Unfortunately, I can't bring those to my table, so we're gonna have to find a way to spruce it up a little bit. So thanks to everyone's favorite friend Google, I have found 2 versions of the adventure game rewritten to be more D&D friendly. The first one is a more straightforward reworking of the original game, just with the inclusion of dice and a few extra mechanics. I found it through GM Binder. It'll be linked in my description so you can also look into it. I won't get into the changes from the game too much, but for example, this version includes a variety of diseases, a long list of medicines used to treat diseases and injuries, and then you use dice to make saving throws that your cat needs to heal. I think that's how it works out. The version also includes updating fighting mechanics by adding dice. I think that's cool. I think the fighting from the original game, I didn't get too into it, but I think it could use an update, so I appreciate that. Unfortunately, the ability and skill checks are still essentially the same. Overall, I like what this version has done with the original game, but my biggest issue would be the ability and skill checks. I still would recommend this game to anyone who's interested, so of course I have the link. You can check it out. I think it's cool. So I found the second version of this game on Board Game Geek by this user. Of course, I'll also link this one in the description for you. As you can see, it's less Warrior Cats adventure game rework and more just Warrior Cats for D&D, which I think is really cool. My favorite thing to come from this guide is the class system for the warriors. Class systems provide a variety in character creation. They provide guidelines in leveling up and also balance out parties, which is great for encounters. I feel class systems are essential for me, and if I were to rework the adventure game, I'd probably use something like this. There are 5 different warrior types to choose from, including the strong warrior, the agile warrior, the fierce warrior, the fast warrior, and the nature warrior, which sounds interesting. This guide also has a background system, which is super cool, and backgrounds in this game determine skill proficiencies. Attacks also got a refresh, which added more variety. I think it's pretty difficult to include any kind of variety in actions when all your characters are cats and they're also all warriors, so I like this change a lot. I'm also going to include a picture of the character sheet for you guys because I love it and I need all of you to see it. I love how it implements the D&D features like proficiency, passives, armor class, and inspiration while also staying true to the foundation, the roots of the adventure game. The version of this game is definitely more in line with what I would want to do at my own table, so just seeing this concept work is very inspiring for me, and that leads me into the last section of my video. I've already gauged interest in this silly idea among my friends, and after doing research for this video, I am more inspired than ever to create something with the pieces I've been given. What comes next is I plan on working the concepts of the adventure game into something my friends would be interested in playing, and I'm hoping the 2 of you watching this will be interested too. If this video gets a crumb of attention, I would love to do a follow-up with some of my ideas and maybe even film a one-shot for the channel. So look forward to that, maybe, possibly, if I follow through. Really quick, I want to give a special thanks to all the creators whose work I reviewed for this video. You guys are awesome. You guys are so inspiring. I can't wait to work with these concepts more. I'm super excited for that. I would also like to thank anyone who watched this far into the video. Thank you for sticking with me. I promise I'll come back with a less niche topic next time. Thank you guys so much. I am so excited to be back at it filming videos, and I will see you next time.